Today on Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we're talking about respecting others. How are you disrespectful to others? Why do you not honor people exactly as they are? Would you like to learn easy ways you can authentically honor people, even the ones you aren't fond of? Learn how to be appreciative of all people as we continue our month focusing on respect. Are you ready to clear your clutter and share your gifts with the world? I teach you how to navigate the waters to declutter your life, get organized, and become more mindful. I'm an award-winning professional organizer, author, and certified life coach, and examine clutter in all areas. Every episode, I'll give you take action steps that you can easily apply to your life. Come on, let's get started. Today's episode was inspired because I feel like we've lost a ton of respect here in America. Other countries, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and how you feel your perspective is in your home country or perhaps your home state. And that's just from a political view and how we can't talk to each other. And it's just people snowflake or trying to think of all the other junk that I hear people just kind of, they casually throw out there. It's just like, come on. You can have a debate and have a differing viewpoint and still be respectful. And we've just gone completely off the rails. I also feel so many of us are self-absorbed because we don't see how our actions affect others. I see this on a daily basis. I bet you do too. Being cut off in traffic, someone cutting line, someone with their face buried in their cell phone and not paying attention when the traffic light changes and then you miss the light. Kind of get the picture here. How are you disrespectful of others? Here are some items I'm going to mention. Always being late. That's not very respectful of others' time. Buried in your iPhone or your iPad or your tablet or your phone when you're with someone. You aren't fully present. You are more focused on your phone. I bet we've all had that happen to us or been out and about and seen that. I know I always think to myself, girl, lose him, or guy, kick her to the curb. Loud music. I wear hearing aids, and I have to tell you, if music's loud, when I say something's loud, oh my gosh, it's loud. How many times do you live in an apartment, or even if you are in a house? I had a party here a couple months ago, and I felt bad for the neighbors across the street. They were right next to a house, and it was just ridiculous. And for hours, it's like, okay, I can understand if you're like, yeah, I love this song. But for hours, and I could hear the music in our TV room, which isn't at the front of the house. So again, if I'm saying it's loud, it's loud. Talking loudly on your phone in public, like there's no one else there. I see people do this at the gym. I'm exercising and focus, and I can hear every word you're saying. And again, I'm hearing every word. You are loud. Not saying please and thank you. Common courtesy. Basic manners. Be polite. Say please, say thank you. You know, people really notice that when you do that these days because it's so rare that people do that. Interrupting people. I know I can sometimes be bad at that, especially if I'm in an interview or I have a point and I'm so excited. And that's something I've worked on personally. And I really do it mainly in interviews. That's where I've noticed it. Sometimes I'm talking to my husband again, try to be very aware of that, but I'm working to improve there, to not interrupt people. Keeping people waiting. You know, I had a client and I thought I'm getting paid. I have my laptop, have a book, always editing, always have something to do. That's how I'm set up. And it was interesting that this client, if they have to meet me somewhere, are habitually late. And they had kind of gotten upset. I'm going to assume that someone had called them out on their tardiness. And they were like, Well, then you should be productive. You should have something to do. Nah, when you keep people waiting, that's not okay. Even if you are paying them, it's not okay. So those are just a few examples of how we're disrespectful to others. Let's dig a little deeper on this in ways that maybe are more subtle or a little bit harsher on how we're disrespectful to people. Control. You have someone try to control you or the situation or event. I know I've done a lot of volunteer work. I am passionate about supporting animals, but I volunteered at the local animal shelter and they were so horrible to me. I'm like, I'm not going to get abused for free. At least if I have to wait for a client, I'm getting paid too. They wanted to control every aspect of the fundraiser. They weren't interested in any fresh and new ideas, and that's okay, but that doesn't mean I have to take it. So where are you being controlled? Or perhaps, where are you trying to control others? Crossing boundaries. What happens when you say no? Does someone respect that or say, just once, for me, pretty please? Where are people trying to cross your boundaries and don't respect what you've created? Or do you try to cross people's boundaries? Lying and cheating. If someone's doing this to you, they definitely don't respect you. And if you're doing this to someone, ask yourself why. They had that man that killed his wife, his pregnant wife, and his two small children. I don't know how people kill children, abuse children. I'll never understand that. And he said he wanted a fresh start and he was having an affair with a coworker. And I thought, then just get your fresh start. You didn't have to go out and murder someone. You're already lying and cheating. Don't take it that extra step and murder someone. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why couldn't he just do right by her and say, I want to leave? And now, would have that been a horrible and unpleasant situation? Absolutely, but it's better than murder. So if someone's lying and cheating on you, very disrespectful, it's time to create a boundary and go. People aren't there for you. This is something, again, I really noticed when I got married, that I had belonged to this networking of women group. And like, for instance, someone was sick, I'd bring a meal, take them shopping, do all that. And it was never reciprocated. Happened a couple different times to me. I'll view it as clearing karma. And I'm not interested in that. And I have really shrunk the amount of people in my life that I consider close friends. And I'm completely okay with it because I'd rather have a handful of close friends than crappy acquaintances. Belittling another's opinion. I mentioned that at the beginning. I have no problem with someone that disagrees with me. I really don't. And I actually like invigorating discussions and learning people's perspective and why do you think that, and asking questions and listening and having a really engaged conversation. Calling people names belittles their opinion. It's not okay. That's not respectful. Saying that their opinion's invalid. That's disrespectful. It's not okay. Here's one. Acting differently in public. That's not respectful of you. I had a client and the spouse acted completely different in public than they did behind private walls. And you probably see that a lot with abuse. Oh, he's so charming. He's so great. In the house, a completely different person. So if they are acting one way in public and one way at home, not authentic, not real, and it's not respectful of you. And the ultimate disrespect, of course, is abuse, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, whatever the abuse is, that is completely disrespectful because they loved and cared about you. They wouldn't abuse you. And I encourage you, whenever I bring up this topic, get out, get support. There are people who will support and help you. Be courageous and take that step and get out of an abusive relationship. What else would you add to this list? Why are people disrespectful? I think the main reason is little self-awareness. And I have to be honest, I feel like with some of the things like having your head buried in the phone, being late, there really isn't another reason except you don't care. And I'm not talking about your friend who there was a car accident and was late. That's not, I think you guys know me well enough by now to know that that's not what I'm meaning. I'm talking about constantly being late, not having any regard for your time. Just don't care. They are self-absorbed and it's all about them. And why I do this podcast is so you can't use the excuse that you aren't aware. So if you call someone out, and you can gently, jokingly call someone out, and if they do it again, then they're telling you, I don't care about you and I'm more important. And then you can make the decision whether to stay or go. Low self-esteem. If you don't respect yourself, it's easy to see why you wouldn't respect others. Some people believe they're simply more important and other people don't matter. I bet we've all run into someone like that. Think, oh, you know what? Rest of it doesn't matter. I'm really annoyed. I spent this morning in court, had to go on Halloween, contest the ticket. The officer had to leave after 2 hours, and I had to stick around another hour for them to say, well, the officer had to leave. Well, that's not my problem. And why didn't you excuse the ticket? I'm kind of really cranky right now. I dressed up. I was respectful. I didn't go before the judge this time. And she said, well, these other tickets are more important. Well, more important to who? I'm an entrepreneur. I had to block off today. I don't have a client. I don't make money. So I'm a little steamed about that still. Simply being self-centered. So what if I'm late? And they think they're more important. They just don't care. It's all about them. Those people aren't fun people to be around. And when you really need them, they're not going to be there for you. Now, sometimes it's just a tough time in life and you can't pull it together. You know, if someone's just lost their spouse, I'm not going to give them a hard time, especially when it isn't their normal behavior. I had a friend who had a 50th birthday party out on the West Coast, and truth of the matter is I have just had a really rough year in 2018. It took all my energy to do my work, focus on Tony and the cats, and I didn't have energy for anything else. I was mildly depressed. I thought of buying a plane ticket, getting a hotel, a car, doing that all on my own. I just haven't the energy. And since we've been friends for a really long time, I'm hoping that I'm forgiven. Might be a learned behavior. Some people are taught that it's okay to interrupt people, and their people, their family did it, so it's okay. They just truly don't know. And again, that's why you do people a favor. You say, okay, hey, you know what? This is rude and here's why. And then you can educate someone. And then they'll let you know who they are. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed I never knew. Or yeah, whatever, so I'm going to do my own thing. Could also be how they cope. If their phone serves as a distraction, really to just not engage, not be present, not think about their life, like I've talked about watching bad TV like The Housewives as a form of distraction. Well, at least I'm not bad as those crazy ladies. So they might not be able to break their habit when they see you. And that way, again, you can say, hey, you know, is everything okay? What's going on here? And then finally, cultural differences. Germans, for instance, like to be really direct. And that can be off-putting for a lot of Americans. And that's just how it is. When I go to a country, I try to the best of my ability, I obviously don't know everything, adopt the cultural norms. If you move to another country, learn what their societal expectations are and adopt that. It's not infringing on your right. It's doing nothing wrong. It's being respectful of the people around you. Get control of your clutter so your clutter doesn't control you. Reclaim time, money, sanity, and resources. Our Got Clutter 365 Journal Prompt book series supports you in clearing your clutter. Journaling helps you access your inner wisdom. When you become aware of your clutter, you can take action to release it. Stop being afraid, gain clarity, and go at your own pace with our journal prompt books. The present moment is your point of power to change. Ready to start? So how can you be respectful? Really easy, I promise. These are things that I know you can do. Take a deep breath if you're about to do or say something that's not respectful. As I was sitting in the courtroom today for 3 hours and I couldn't edit, there was just so much noise and so much going on. And I thought, okay, think about what you're going to say. And I'd already trained myself. Okay, if the officer says something that ticks you off, deep breath, get that focus going. Be on time, say please and thank you. Not going to kill you guys. And especially if people are busy or, somewhere like the post office where it seems there's always a line and they're doing the best they can, acknowledge that and be respectful. Be genuinely curious about people. We all have interesting lives. Used to like that guy, I think he was on CBS, and he'd go to a town and open up the phone book. Can't do that anymore, and just point, and then he'd go and visit this person and ask them about their life. We're all interesting. Respect different opinions. You can agree to disagree. Not that hard. I saw someone shared an exchange they had with their uncle, and they disagreed, and he was basically saying, you might not want to air this on Facebook. And she said, well, here's where I feel I need to air it. And the whole time there was, I love you and I respect you. It was amazing. It was really great to see that. Agree to disagree and move on. Don't come down into name calling. When you respect yourself, it's easier to respect others. Look within. If you aren't respecting someone else, where in your life are you lacking self-respect? Why? Keep your promises. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Again, life happens. I'm talking about the everyday life interactions. Honor that. Apologize when you need to. Not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. No. Be genuine. I'm sorry. I apologize if I hurt you. And don't do the non-apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. Guys, that's not a real apology. It takes a mature, grown, an awesome person to be able to say I'm sorry. We have this warped thing, I think, in America that if we say we're sorry, there's something wrong with us or weak. Not so. Don't waste anyone's time. As an entrepreneur, this happens quite a bit. I get calls all the time answering to be a sponsor. If you leave a message, this is why I'm calling, with all the information, you're likely to get a call back. I didn't listen to my rule and I called an unknown number, and he started talking. I said, just get to the point. I have a lot to do. And I was angry and I didn't give, partly because he was trying to do the sales thing on me. And I'm like, I don't have anything affiliated with this high school. I know no one that goes there. I'm not interested, and thank you. Trust and be trusted. Trust and be trusted. Don't gossip. Because what you're saying about others, someone might turn the table someday and spread something that's untrue about you. Again, gossip just serves as a distraction. Don't waste your energy on that. Follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done to you. Pretty simple, guys. One sentence sums up a good way to live your life. Be authentic. Embrace you and all your flaws and your kind of ugly bits and things you're working on. Just be you. People really respond to that. One of the most consistent feedback I get on the podcast is that I'm real. I'm not sitting up here on a mountain saying, oh, here's how to declutter, here's how to organize and be more mindful. I share all my warts and all because I want you to see that, 1, you can change your life. 2, I'm not perfect. And 3, you're not alone. Listen well. Again, I think something that's kind of has been lost in our culture. Take the time to really listen instead of being, I got to get my point. And again, I can get excited and do this sometimes. Listen to what people have to say and then think thoughtfully and respond. Release your anger. That's going to serve you to not only explode over something ridiculous, but The more of your anger you release, the more peace of mind you have. Let go of judgment. When you judge another, you judge yourself. You wouldn't like someone judging you all the time. So kind of consider that as you begin to get judgmental and bring it again back within. Well, why am I judging this other person and her looks? Maybe I'm feeling a little insecure about how I look today because it's humid and my hair's a hot mess. So if I judge another, then I'll feel a little better about myself. And finally, guys, just leave. It's an option. If someone is not respecting you or not a right fit or someone you don't want to hang with and you find yourself starting to get sarcastic, just leave. Completely an option. You don't have to stay in every relationship you've ever been in. When someone's disrespectful to you, I had a couple years ago, just went to an allergist and allergic to cats, folks, didn't change. Anyway, so I had to was having some problem. I'm like, I need to see a doctor today. And, I'm not a freak about that. I really had to see someone. Anyway, couldn't see me in Raleigh. I had to drive all the way down to Fuquay or wherever it is, and like a 45-minute drive. And this doctor was so disrespectful to me. I mean, I wrote a Google review. I was hot. And I talked about the awesomeness, everyone else in the office. And then I got to the doctor. Well, it's interesting. My healthcare is through Duke as a provider. I don't know how all lays out. And one thing they did, and I'm not saying this is up to me or this was because of what I did, because one thing I wrote is like, you need to teach this man how to respect people because he obviously didn't learn it at med school. And after every Duke appointment, I get a survey now. And I think another time they asked me a survey and I said, everyone's great. This person was really rude to me. I get people have a bad day and I write that, but this doctor was just made me feel dumb. I wanted to make sure that drugs didn't interact. And he's like, read the box. I'm like, this is what I'm paying you for. So I was hot enough and disrespected enough, I ended up writing a Google review. And because he was arrogant and disrespectful. So I needed to take my own advice back then and remember what others do and say is about them and not to take it personally. I can also not take something personally and have a boundary. And somewhat happened with the doctor's office because I didn't mouth off. I just was like, I'm not going to waste my energy on this. I'm going to get myself taken care of, get the prescription I need, and then I'm just going to go write a Google review because this guy needed to know that. So again, I was angry. I'm not going to say like I was all zen about it, but get back. Hey, don't take it personally. But not taking something personally does not mean not taking action or something like setting a boundary. You can set a boundary with someone. I had someone that used to be a teacher of mine who, again, because we feel energy, guys. And I don't care what anyone says, you don't have to. You can write an email in all lowercase and still be screaming at someone and they're going to feel that. So someone blamed me for someone they had recommended someone. I said, I know so-and-so is looking for a job when I was out in Los Angeles. So 10 years later, I kid you not, 10 years later, she found out this woman was stealing from her and was angry at me. I'm like, why are you angry at me? You made the decision to hire her. You suspected she was stealing for years and you never did anything. So anyway, she screamed at me over email and I matched the energy. And that's something I do now. Like I had a crazy neighbor yell at me and I yelled right back. I matched the energy. And it was also keeping a boundary. Like, you need to know you cannot treat me this way. Have a boundary. And if someone is disrespectful, you have that option to create a boundary. I've said no. The answer is no. End of discussion. Remember to keep the end in mind. And I believe I first heard this from Franklin Covey. What do you need to accomplish? Get done. And what's most important, and let that guide your actions. So when I was at the doctor's office and he was being kind of a jerk face, I was like, I need to get a prescription. I need to get better. I need to take care of myself. I'm not going to job back. I'm not going to match energy. I don't need to set a boundary. I'm going to handle it on a Google review. That's how I'm going to take care of my needs. And this is something I have begun to ask myself a lot more lately. Is it worth your energy? I'm really trying to not waste energy on dumb stuff. And in general, I do a pretty good job, but doctors, I just wasted a little bit too much energy getting bent out of shape and composing the Google review in my head. So ask yourself, is it worth your energy? Is it worth your time? And then go from there. Have compassion and empathy. Again, to a point, you can have empathy for someone. I am in a Facebook group, and this woman posted a lot. I believe she really needs professional support, and people in the group finally called her out on that because she just says, I'm a horrible, stupid person, and she has said it more than once. And so people were compassionate and empathized, but then someone's like, you need help. I have a friend that said these things and committed suicide. And the woman got angry at her, and it was like, I watched this whole exchange, and I agreed with the woman who called her out. I felt that people in the group kept enabling her and we're having compassion and energy, but then someone needed to step up and say, you know what, you need help, and please get it. We're all concerned about you. But again, if you're wounded and you hook into that and relate to that, you're going to probably have a longer stretch of listening to it. Call them out. Hey, you know what? That's not okay to cut line. Come on, getting back. Not that hard. Easy to do. And that doesn't mean give them the finger, just call them out. And finally, find humor. I'm working on this one, guys. I am not so good at this. I have a really funny younger brother. Maybe he took all the funny genes. But here's an example. So I was with my mom in Hawaii, and we went to, what's that place? It's a cool thing on Oahu, and you can see a Polynesian village, and you see all these cultures, and it's actually a pretty cool thing. I like the people from Tonga and the culture. It's very, very interesting. And so we were at something, there was like a boat show, every hour, every 2 hours. So anyway, we had sat down, my mom and her friend, Mrs. Squibb, had coming out, and this big old guy just took my seat or smushed me. I don't remember what happened. And I was surprised, and I got angry, and I didn't say anything. And I was annoyed that I got angry and didn't say anything. And what I should have done is found the humor. And sidled up to him and be like, I guess we're going to get cozy now. And then he might be like, oh my God, run away from me. But wherever you can in the situation, find humor in it. Because I'm telling you, that changes your energy. It changes sometimes change the projection of how things are going to go. It can, we all pick up on this stuff, guys, whether or not we're aware of it. And if someone's really cranky coming at you, and sometimes humor can diffuse that. So when you're able, use humor when someone is disrespectful. Take actions from today's podcast. Recognize the ways you disrespect others. Acknowledge why you aren't respectful of other people. Practice being respectful to everyone, even the people you don't like. Have a plan in place for how you'll respond when others aren't respectful to you. On next month's bonus episode, we're talking about wear your blinders. Go out, clear your clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. Are you ready to live a more joyful and fulfilling life? Sign up for our newsletter at reawakenyourbrilliance.com and receive a free copy of 10 Steps to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you would rate and review the show. See you next Tuesday at 1 o'clock.